Alright, so before I start this video, I have to talk about something that's just been fucking getting on my nerves lately. You see this name right here? This spells Constantia. It is not Constantina. It has never been Constantina. I don't know why everyone thinks it's supposed to be Constantina, but apparently half the people I've talked to about my own series have read it as Constantina. So just to clear this up, it is not Constantina. It is Constantia. Alright then, now on to the important bits. So, as you probably know, I'm the guy who created TACENDUM. I was planning on making this video a bit later, but certain circumstances have led me to making it now. But long story short, I probably won't be making any more TACENDUM content in the near future, and possibly the far future too, depending on how things go. And there's a good reason for that. It's because I'm not really like a mapper per se. Truthfully, I only started making this series as a really elaborate joke in the Mapping Resources Discord server. So if you don't know, the MR server used to have a contest section where people would make maps and the community would vote on the best one, and whoever the winner was would get the contest winner role until the next competition started. Thing is, the contest eventually completely died out because of a lack of participants, and since I was the last one to win a contest, I basically got to keep the green role forever. However, when Mapper Tournament 29 began to be hosted in Mapping Resources, it took the place the contests used to fill, and as such, my beloved green role was mercilessly ripped from my hands. But by that point, I'd had that role for like almost fucking 2 years, man. I got like kinda attached to it, and I wasn't just gonna let it be taken from me like that. And so, I took it upon myself to accept this challenge. I would create a mapping series from scratch for the express purpose of taking my green role back. And so it began. So the first chapter of TACENDUM began production as soon as the tournament was announced, and it was made from start to finish within about 9 days, give or take. But the whole process of actually getting this all to work with the limitations I had was so difficult and time consuming that the entire video ended up being only 7 minutes long, because most of that time was spent just getting the damn thing to work in the first place. Now after that, chapter 2 was a little bit easier on me since I had already finished laying out the groundwork necessary to make more of these videos. I even took the time to add some extra effects like a little bloom effect over everything. But overall, I knew that I couldn't spend too long on it either, because in order to win the 3rd and 4th rounds of the tournament, which was my plan, I would need to make sure that chapter 3 and 4 were meticulously polished. And as such, I kinda skimmed out on chapter 2 to make time for that. So, by the time I started production on chapter 3, the tournament was still in round 2, and so I had plenty of time to make sure the chapter would fit my vision to a T. Chapter 3 was also when I started using an actual 3D camera, by the way, because believe it or not, both of the first chapters did not have a proper camera, and instead the animations were all done by moving the image plane around the whole time. It may not sound like it, but that was actually pretty limiting, and switching to a camera I could freely animate allowed me to make the camera movement far more fluid and interesting, which opened up a whole realm of possibilities for me. Aside from that, I also made good use of my time and changed up quite a few things for chapter 3. So for one, I finally changed the year counter to fit into the text box neatly. I went a whole lot heavier on the color grading to make sure that, each scene had its own vibe, its own, I guess aesthetic per se, depending on what was going on. And I even went and added a few small details here and there just to emphasize the experience, like a little fucking question mark thing. One of the judges actually pointed this out. Very nice. In the end, chapter 3 was by far my best work yet on this series. But then, the one thing I had dreaded the most finally came to pass. 3 days after the end of round 3, my school year began. This wouldn't have been too much of a problem, but unfortunately for me, the school I go to also has an integrated technical course in graphic design, which drastically increases the workload in comparison to other Brazilian schools. And let me tell you, this killed my workflow with TACENDUM. I actually had chapter 3 done in about 2 weeks before submissions for round 3 closed, but even with all that extra time, I hardly managed to get anything done for chapter 4. Between shit like coming up with plot points, scripting, setting up dialogue, picking music, making flags, animating, and post-processing, I had a lot on my plate and not enough free time to get it all done in a reasonable time span. And on top of all that, I also ended up kind of losing my motivation for working on the series, mostly because, fucking school is draining, but also because constantly working on this for almost 3 months ended up kind of burning me out on it. And, again, on top of all of that, I ended up getting kind of sidetracked with getting a working displacement map for this series, which had me going on QGIS and exporting a bunch of NASA topography data layers to simulate the whole 3D elevation thing, getting the bump map working. It wasted a lot of my time, and it didn't really help production much at all. It didn't put anything forward. It was just a little graphical, thing that I put on top. And, with all that, In the end, not only could I not finish chapter 4 in time to submit it to the tournament finals, I barely had like 10% of the video done. Even though the whole script was ready, every other step necessary to put it all into video form was just too lengthy to get done. And honestly, I'm kind of broken up about it. I mean, that's 3 whole months of my life I spent on this mapping series just to get a green roll in a Discord server, and I didn't even get to submit the last video. I mean, if I did get to submit the whole thing and just lost, it'd still be better than this, right? I mean, it's a bummer, but nevertheless, that's where we are now. Believe it or not, I actually had a huge amount of content planned for this series, enough for 2 entire seasons, probably. Now, this was mostly just to make sure I had a proper direction for where I wanted the plot to go, but there were times I got so invested that I actually started writing dialogue several chapters in advance. Now, as for the reason I probably will never be finishing chapter 4 of the series in its entirety, it's just like I said before. My motive for making this series was to win the mapper tournament. And now that well, that's not really in the realm of possibility anymore, there's not much reason for me to continue. I mean, truthfully, I did enjoy making TACENDUM. Like, in a way, it was sort of a test of my own editing and writing capabilities. And like, you know, who knows, maybe if it does end up getting enough traction, there is a chance that I could come back and finish it eventually. But for now, I'm fairly sure it won't be going anywhere. And that's sad to say, and I'm sorry for, people who were kind of excited for where it was going, if there are any of you. But if you do want to see the part of chapter 4 that I did manage to finish, I still will be linking it in the description. This is the one I submitted for round 4 of the mapper tournament, and I have not gotten the results yet, but I'm fairly sure it's not going to be a victory. And don't worry, by the way, for those of you who still want to learn how all of this was done and maybe how to even do it yourself, I will still be making a video teaching how to make these sorts of videos with DaVinci Resolve. Probably. I'm not sure how long that'll take, so don't get your hopes up. In any case, it's been a good run. I'm happy I managed to entertain at least a few people with this silly little series. But, yeah, all good things must come to an end. And just to finish this video off, I'm gonna show you a little compilation of all the technical difficulties I had while making this series. Have a good one, y'all. Yeah, this is fine. I like this. This is cool. That's definitely not supposed to happen. Oh my.
Dude, Unknown just sent me a video of him flopping his dick around.
Hey. What the fuck did I just do? What the hell is that? What the fuck? What the fuck is this? And it's spin around like that. Why is it doing that? What the fuck? I'm trying to stop it right now, and it's not turning off. It's taking up 90% of my memory. It's not turning off. It doesn't want to, and I don't know why. Why is it doing this? Why? Fucking clicking. I have no idea how long I've been waiting. I don't know what to do with my life anymore. I can hear the birds chirping outside my room. I've been here overnight. I don't know what to do with my life anymore. I was actually kind of planning to, upload the video that I've made, but then, came the fact that my fucking internet doesn't work, so I can't upload this video because I